Hello, hello. Welcome back to another day of dating after divorce for women. Break free from attracting the same old partners to attract love that is deep, committed, and secure interview series. For those of you that have been tuning in, you already know, but for those that are just joining us, this series is your Give It To Me Straight resource for practical and actionable advice that is going to take you one step closer to attracting love that is deep, committed, and secure. I am your host, Stephanie Flagari, and today we have Lisa Copeland, who has been a leading internationally recognized love coach and dating expert for women over 50 since 2012. She's the author of The Winning Dating Formula for Women Over 50 on Amazon. She's been seen in the Huffington Post, the Wall Street Journal, and Bloomberg, and has appeared on Dr. Phil, ABC, Fox, and on Modern Prairie with Melissa Gilbert. She loves inspiring and teaching women how to feel confident, empowered, and joyful dating after 50. Lisa is here to provide you with the give it to me straight goods and help you move one step closer to attracting love as we explore this insightful conversation on the topic the winning dating formula for women over 50. I like to kick things off first by having us or you share a little bit about your story and about how you got to where you are today. Did you always feel like you wanted to be a love coach and a dating expert, and how did that unfold?
No. I didn't because
This
I
is
didn't even think about it, but what was happening for me
yeah.
when I first started dating, I was married for 24 years, and
Wow.
I took time to heal because I always
Yeah.
feel it's important that we heal from a divorce because
Right.
otherwise we're going right back in and doing the same stuff. So I took some time to heal and then I decided to date. But the problem was is I didn't know what I was doing. Cried a lot. I mean, I really cried. I would go, "Will he like me?" And who cares? I should have been on the side, which is what I teach women now is the liking starts of liking yourself first,
Yeah.
and then you get to decide if you like him.
You're
But
right.
as women, we want the world to love us. And
Yeah.
that, so even if we don't like them, we still think, oh, didn't they like us? Anyway, so I remember the very first date I went on. I still had a junior in high school at home. And so I still had a kid at home, and I was
Mm,
really like a soccer mom. I, was going to school and watching her play. And when her brother was in school, in high school, same thing. He was in college at the time. And I remember going in my closet. Number one, I did not feel that good inside because you don't feel so great a lot of times when you come out of a divorce. No one's telling you, oh, you're wonderful, you're great, whatever it is, because you've probably been in not so good terms with someone when you've divorced. And the other thing is I was afraid I'm going out there with my body different than when I was in my 20s, and who's going to like me and those kinds of things. So I'm not feeling good to begin with. And I go look in my closet, and all I have are black jeans and black t-shirts. I mean, they came from decent stores, but where did I go to sit and watch my kids play games?
yeah.
I've always I came from a generation where you wore jeans all the time. Once you got out of dresses, we wore dresses till ninth grade. I never got into a dress again for a long time. All right. So I go on this date and oh God, and I had fake Birkenstocks. They were, I don't know, some color. They were from Land's End. I mean, I was like, oh my God. My whole closet is emptied out because I'm number one, not feeling good in me.
Yeah.
So of course it's not reflected on the outside. And I call my sister crying and I go, is he gonna like me? I was giving my power away like it was my job.
Like, Lisa.
So so, um I didn't want another woman to suffer like that again. And because I was miserable. I did have fun dating because I like men, but I was also emasculating men
Yeah.
without realizing it. And we can get into more of these topics later. But these were two main things that got me to where I am today because I had two men say to me, Lisa, you don't know how to let a man be a man. And I'd always gotten
Mm.
along well with men. So I thought, they're full of it, but they were right. I
You're like,
did it.
maybe they're onto something here. Okay. I
Yeah.
I'm seeing it now.
So that's how I got here, and then I thought, like I said, I didn't want women to suffer, and women do suffer, when they get out there and date. It can be a lot of fun, but it
Yeah.
it can take a toll on you if you're not in a certain space mentally to do this.
Thank you for sharing that. And I know when we as women, like when we do get out of that divorce, just like you have mentioned, it is definitely not a spot where you're mentally okay. I'm out. I'm free. I'm ready to go. Let's do this. Where it does take that time to process what you were already going through, whether that was a lengthy divorce or going through litigation or if there was children involved, that can really take a toll and really be stressful. So when you're here transitioning, that's a big transition. So
Yeah,
that is something
it
you have to
can be.
ease into
Mhm.
and also be mindful of where you're at and if you're ready for that. But like now diving right into it, I hear all too often from people in general that who have been divorced and they say, okay, I'm never gonna date again. I'm never going to marry again. That was the worst divorce. That was the worst relationship. That was, it was like pulling out my hair. I'm not going to do it. But lo and
Mhm.
behold, when we get past that certain point, we do find ourselves that are getting curious and wanting to adventure out and saying, okay, I think I'm ready for this. I do want to be with someone. I want to have a companion and would like to wake up and have someone there just to talk with and be with. But also at the same time, when we're dating, there's also other challenges that we are facing as well, whether that be from emotions or feeling of fear of getting hurt again, excuse me, fear of rejection and fear of like, okay, I'm too old. Everything is so new. Where do I even start? Like it's not the same how it was, 20, 30, sometimes even 40 years ago. But this is what I feel in my heart I desire is having a partner. Also, along with that, like the fears of never feeling like never breaking the cycle of attracting the same old partner. So my question to you is where can women that are over 50 start, or where should they start if they are finding they are resonating with these fears that I had mentioned, or if they feel they are walking in circles when it comes to dating?
So, great question. The first place to start is where I was when I was crying, "Will he like me?" And that
Yeah.
is, you gotta get your confidence in place, and you have to really feel good. I think one of the things we undervalue is loving ourselves and spending time with ourselves. And the best thing you can do is get yourself back. Because usually, when we've been in marriages,
Mhm.
especially women, we have a tendency to become the guy, not to become him, but to become his stuff. And he fell in love with you for all the things you did that were your passions in life. And when you give all that up, you're a different person. And one day he says, who is this person? So it's really important for you to re experience life on your terms. And that's a little little hard when you're used to people being around all the time or having a meal with someone all the time. And you sit for the first time down by yourself at the table and you're thinking, oh my God, it's just me, especially if you have an empty nest. It's learning to get comfortable with yourself and to really come to love yourself and explore yourself again. And that's that time of healing. Make friends. Like ask your friends, who do you know that's divorced or widowed or, and make plans and go out, join meetups, make girlfriends because you really do need that. You need single friends because your married friends don't know what you're going through. They really don't. So that's the first step. The second step is really understanding men. So remember I said to you, I emasculated men.
Yeah. Not intentionally, maybe there
No,
were
no, it
sometimes,
wasn't.
maybe not, but
Right. It wasn't intentional. I didn't know I was doing it. I grew up in an age of women's lib, which was great because women stopped having to just be the provider at home of everything. They could go and get jobs. Unfortunately, they kept both roles many times, and it has stressed women to no end. So,
Yeah.
um, I love like my kids' age. They seem to have more balance there with the men helping more at home. I mean, when I was married, it was like the old TV shows like, I don't know, Ozzie and Harriet, Donna Reed, and where the mom wore pearls for breakfast. I never wore pearls for breakfast, but where she took care
2
of
separate
everything.
roles.
They were roles,
Very
right?
traditional.
Yes, and thank God today that's changing. But what happened is so I came from that era, I am woman, let me roar, and we had to break out of that. I mean, women couldn't even get credit cards in their own name until like I think it's 1974 or something.
Oh,
It was just crazy. So that was really important, and we've had lots of opportunities. Now the balance of home stuff is an issue. But anyway, so I am woman, let me roar again. And because I was in that role, traditional role, I got pretty powerful at home because I did everything. All he did, well, it's not he did. What he did not do things at home, but he definitely provided the financial support.
Yeah.
Okay. But
Yeah.
that put
Yeah.
me in a position of knowing how to do it all. So here I get into these relationships where I'm like, get out of my way. You're too slow. I know what I'm doing. I didn't say it that directly. And that's why they said, "You don't know how to let a man be a man." And that's true. I was overgiving, overdoing, and I wasn't letting a man come in and we work it out together. So that was a real issue. And it's important to understand women come from community,
Yeah.
what's best for the community, and men come from how can I make your life easier? They want to fix for you.
Right.
So we don't even talk the same language because we're coming from the different places. Does all that make sense? Does that
Yeah.
make sense? Yeah.
I love like how you broke that down because that is very true when um you kind of take on the role and putting on all these different hats, but also at the same time with him and like where do I fit in? Like how can I be of help? I feel like I am not contributing to the relationship. So going through all those dynamics and even that time and for you coming out and taking on all that role, that is a big change. And so you did catapult for where women are today. So thank you also for being the leader in for that. But was there other steps that were involved? Did I cut you off from explaining?
No, it's fine. I love hearing what you had to say. So it's mad. Um, it's really for us as women, it's learning to receive
Yeah,
because we feel if we ask for help and ask for help too,
yeah,
we feel like if we ask for help, we look weak and we don't.
right.
You actually have way more strength with a man when you ask his help because men, emotionally healthy men, are very wired to uh, help you. and we don't always like what they do, and we're very critical of this issue, but we they do really wanna step up for you. They truly, truly do. And we don't get that, because, we're looking for the community, and they're looking, like I said, for the to make your life easier. They really are. So that's a huge disconnect.
Right.
Is there anything else you wanna ask about men?
Oh, no, that was just, kind of briefly if there was like, I know that there was the first 2 steps, so I was just jumping right in and I was like, "Oh, is there like a 3rd step?"
Oh, heck yeah.
Can you
So the
please go
3rd
over the rest
step
of those, steps, very light and kind
yeah.
of explain, to the women that are tuning in for the rest of those other steps?
Sure. The third step is getting clarity on who you want.
Mm.
So we have a tendency to date the same person in different shoes, different
Mm.
hair, different clothes until we have an awareness that, oh my God, that's the same guy with a with a different body. And so I always have women, we go do a pattern chart to see what their patterns are, who they're attracted to
Right.
so they can identify their old type and so they can create warning signs of this is my old type. Do I really want to do this again? And then we create a new type because we often what we do is revert back to how we dated in our 20s
Yeah.
where we had totally different goals. In our 20s it really was, whether you had kids or not, you were very baby daddy oriented because hormones were there.
Yeah.
And today, or as you get older, empty nest and beyond, there's a different, I mean, it's really about fun and play, truthfully, because kids have grown up and the responsibilities are not there. And the empty nest is a huge adjustment, by the way. That's huge. Don't just think, "Oh, I'm gonna fill it with a guy," because you
Yeah.
really do have to get it's about us getting our identities back is what it is at that time.
Right.
Okay, so then you have a clear vision of a guy you think is going to make you happy. And that's really a deep dive into values. You want your values to match. You want to make sure you're not breaking through deal breakers, these kinds of things. So it's an involved process. Once you are out there, you need a dating blueprint for how you're going to meet men and where you're going to meet them. And men are
Right.
everywhere. It's just we can't see them because we're stuck in our old little type guy, and that's what women tell me when they create that quality man template. "Oh my god, I'm in the best relationship, but I've never seen him before." So, when you have that and you're going out there with a dating blueprint, you can see more possibilities. And you want to get online, you want to get out in the real world. And your online profile needs to express that inner confidence, that understanding of men. And it also wants to express who you want. So men say, she's talking about me. And then you want to get out in the real world. And one of the scariest things about being in the real world is that fear of rejection. But when we
Right.
do that, we are putting him as the prize versus, hey, you need to prove to me you're worthy of me too. But like I said earlier, we want to be liked by everybody and we want to be good girls. And, all this, our whole teaching stuff sits inside of us. And also, when we look at someone, we go, "Oh my god, he's my type. I just know he's my type." No,
Yeah.
you don't know. All you know is he's nice looking and he appeals to you. But the issue is if you're using chemistry or that fluttering of your heart or whatever it is when you get around them, that's hormonal too. And the only thing it means is you have a hormonal interaction. And when we have intense chemistry, we have a tendency to trust someone that may not be so trustable.
Mhm. I
And
like
that
that.
happened to
Yeah.
me in a second marriage that was 2 years. I forgot to say that was part of my story because that is actually what became after that, a dating coach, because it was the chemistry was so amazing. You're releasing oxytocin every 10
Yeah.
seconds, and I would cry when he would leave. I would be like, "Oh my god, he's leaving," and that's because the chemistry was pulling, but we were missing. I always tell women you need to have friendship a heart connection, and some form of intimacy to have potential for a relationship. You can define how those look however you want. And we just didn't have a friendship because we had intense chemistry and lust got mixed up with love. So,
Yes, I love that too because that was a big component too. They're like, how did I get here? Like here it is, like I am on my second marriage and I feel like there's this complete divide or gap, now that we're going in 2 years in, 3 years in, 5 years, and I was like, "What am I doing wrong? Is there something wrong with me for feeling this way?" So, I love how you mentioned, like, okay, we're looking for that spark or that knee-jerk reaction when in fact we're confusing that with love as well, and those are
mhm.
completely 2 different things, and that can be coming into play as well. So thank you for bringing in that insight because that definitely does help. I know for my marriage, it
Uh-huh.
definitely was in that. It was amazing. This is so the best love ever. And really, really, it wasn't. So, thank you for bringing that into the light of, what is this and kind of looking at it on a deeper level. If this is just that, are you looking at that spark and how does he look or are they, you know, uh, having that, the butterflies in the stomach and all that other stuff as well. So thank you for mentioning that.
You're so welcome. I mean, the other thing is I have had women say to me, "I know he's the one," if within 10 seconds. No, you know you will sleep with him or kiss him within 10 seconds. That is it. And the thing is, all right, men absolutely need initial attraction because men are so visual.
Mhm.
We're actually visual, but we're also heart oriented. And as you get to know a man, he can become really cute and really attractive. You'll hear stories of people that said, "We were just friends, and then we fell in love because I got to know him." And this is a caveat with online dating too, is that when you're swiping left, no, no, no. These are people that at a not all of them, there are some no's for sure, some left sides, but
That's a no-go.
but okay, so you're swiping I'm sorry, I lost my train of
Oh,
thought.
no.
So, you're swiping no. These are people that if you met at a cocktail party or you met at a bar or you went out with friends and they brought their friend who you see, "Oh my god, I swiped left on a dating site to him, and he's really a great guy." So, one of the things you when you're looking at someone's profile, if they've written enough, nobody should be writing a book. You just want enough
Right.
to intrigue someone in that profile to get to write to you. But what you're looking for when you're going on those dates is ultimately, do you share the same values? Because a guy
Mm,
can be hot, but if
mhm.
you don't share the same values, you're just going right down that track of divorce again.
What are some how would the women know that are tuning in if their values align? How would there be any, not red flags, but, key aspects that stand out? They're like, "Okay, that seems like a guy who shares the same value as me," or, "How do I even know if we share that?" Am I supposed to know right away that if we share those values? And I know sometimes like it could be way later that women find out that they don't have the same values and it kind of does takes a whole different spin onto this. So do you have any advice or suggestions for in this case or for this scenario?
Sure, yeah. Well, you're not gonna find those values out on a first date. And that's
Yeah.
why you have a nice guy, a couple chances, get to know him. Values are based on how you live your life, the integrity, honesty, um, even financially in many ways. Because sometimes, not that you have to be at the same, but you have amount of money, you have to be in the same mode of how you're going to spend that money or it doesn't mean you're gonna spend the same way. It means you have to be on the same page. If you're gonna date someone who feels that saving all the money and not doing anything now until later,
Yeah.
when you're retired, this is a disconnect, and you wanna go on vacations all the way through. This is a big disconnect of values. So that actually starts on the date, and so many people go on a date with dating, what I call dating resume questions. It's like, "What's your sign?" No, you don't usually ask, "What's your sign?"
Yes.
You know, "How many kids? When did you get married? Why did you
Yeah.
get divorced?" Cut that out. It's like
None of that.
you feel like I teach women, stop that, because number 1, it feels like an interrogation.
Yeah.
It feels like a husband interview or a boyfriend interview,
Yeah.
and men do it
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
What you wanna do is you wanna have questions where you can find out about them. Things like, "Well, when you were young, what kind of games did you play?" Or, "Where did your family go
Yeah.
on vacation?" Or, ask questions that provide shared history. So, I'm going to age myself by telling you this little story. You'll be able to guess my age. I don't really care. Anyway, so I was a little brownie, which is a Girl Scout thing, and John Kennedy was shot,
Oh,
and we had brownies the day that he was shot. And I remember we would meet at the flagpole, and the brownie leaders were sobbing, and they go, "Okay, everybody get on the bus because you're going home. We're not doing brownies." All
yeah.
right. So I met a man who told me he was 10 years, oh, no, 5 years older than me, okay, 5 years. So, I was 9. So now go ahead, do the math. And, anyway, I was 9. So I said to him, "Oh, where were you?" I don't know how it came up. Just find history things. It can also be when Challenger exploded, where were you? Or when something happened, where were you? So I said, "Where were you?" I said I was at the Brownie thing, like I just said to you. And he goes, "He was working." And I said, I'm going, I'm 9, 5 years, 14. I said, "You were 14 and working?" Ta-da! I caught him in a lie. So there's a value. Somebody who's not honest about who they are. And but shared history helps bring that out. And don't just look for the tragedies in life, look for the good things too. Um, you know,
Right.
I could tell you where I was when the people landed on the moon. So for my age, the same thing. When they asked, I could ask it, and stuff like that brings stuff up because people remember the event, and it's not to quiz them, but it's just they'll, like that guy said, I was working because he was thinking of the event. He never
Yeah.
thought to lie, but he
Yeah.
was lying about his age.
Feel like this something does not add up. And for me, I love this because it again, you don't want to come at them with, guns ablazing or in the face. And it's to also see if there is that connection. And also, like what you had said, like this is fun, this is an experience. But to also know if they share those values and kind of spark that as well. I love how you mentioned that shared history and how you can find out those small little details without being "Ah," in the face.
It's
This
like,
is
"What did you
exactly
talk
what I'm
about?"
doing and how I'm doing it. I
But the thing
love that.
about the thing about doing questions like that, besides they show really who a person is
Yeah.
through their stories, is it's a much more fun date. And you do get to know someone because when you say, "How many kids do you have?" They're going to say, "2." Okay. And then you're done. There's nowhere. They may say, "How many do you have? And how many grandkids?" And I could say, "2. How many do you have?" And then you're dead in the water. Whereas and if they say, "Okay, they have 2 grandkids," and you could say, "Oh, so what do you do with your grandkids? See what they do, Ask them questions so they're not just so limited that they can't share. You want it to be more conversational, but when
Yeah.
you're doing those direct dating resume questions, nobody's laid back. Everybody feels on the edge of their seat, and they're trying to be their best. And they're not even showing who they are. And in the meantime, you're deciding before that cup of coffee is done, left
You're like, "Okay, this is not even it."
Right, and you don't know, you could have missed someone good.
Also, the is, like, what I thought of, hearing is, like, being on that autopilot for both parts. It's like, okay, how are we supposed to get this a little bit more interesting or dive a little bit deeper other than quickly like, "Okay, this person isn't it."
Yeah, but you also don't wanna go too deep on a first date, so do we have enough time for me to share a short story?
Yes, yes, please.
Okay,
Yes,
so
because
I
this is
did that.
actually another I was gonna say, is there any other, um, common actions that the women do that might be a blind spot that they're not aware of?
Well, let me share you, like I said, about being deep, because this is a problem on a first
Yeah.
date.
Yeah.
First date,
This is one.
you really wanna be fun, and you wanna be just get to know someone. You
Mhm.
don't need to decide if he's the one, because people could fit in your life in different ways. It doesn't just have to be romantic. And I always encourage my clients, if you think there's nothing there, fine, but maybe they make a great friend, because when you're not dating or don't have a date, you can be around male energy. All right. Here's a big mistake to make, and I'm sure everyone's made their own. So I was into all
And there,
back
done that, no. Yes.
Back in the day, I was into all this, energy stuff, about healing and things
Mhm.
like that. I still am, and still am very spiritual, but I was all outward. It was like I was spewing, like, not spewing really, but, I was just talking about it, and, versus it being an inward journey, which I eventually learned. So this guy was a doctor, and he was in a pretty serious situation where patients do pass away from whatever he was treating.
Um,
This was so long ago, I can't even remember what he was into. All right, but he told me some interesting stories about people as they were passing away. So I thought, oh, hot diggity, this is an energy thing. So I said to him, well, I started to say, with energy, you can feel other people's energies. And I said, rub your hands like this. And he did. Now, if you notice, there's a space between my hands. It's not rubbing my hands. That's the energy. But then I said, okay, now hold your hands up to mine. Can you feel my energy? Okay, he was originally going to ask me out to dinner. And when that dinner didn't happen, he just thought, "Du- du- 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 du." Meanwhile, he dates this friend of mine, really good friend of mine. And he says, what was the worst date or the weirdest date you ever had? And he goes, oh my God, I was with this woman. Now, all this is was a dating coach. Okay. This is what led me because I was just terrible at stuff. Okay. See, I dated this woman and she was trying to show me energy. And she said, is her name Lisa? She goes, "She's a good friend of mine." I knew just who you were talking about. Now, if we can have our beliefs, we can have our stuff. It's a first date is not the time to put that out there. I call it slapping the crap against the wall. People will put out their worst stuff. I'm in
Mhm.
debt. I have I have this or I have that. And nobody could deal with that stuff on a first date. Everybody has
Yep.
stuff. And you don't want to slap the crap on the wall to see if they're going to like you. It starts with everything is in you first. You like you, just how you are. Get to know someone. Doesn't mean you're hiding anything. As you get to know someone, you can choose to share what you want. And if you're getting into a relationship, of course you would, but you just don't share weird stuff or deep financial stuff or your mother's bad or your ex is bad or any of that stuff on the first date because it keeps you from getting to know someone. But we think it connects us, but it
Right.
doesn't. It pushes people away.
Right, and I love that same concept, like, of what you mentioned. You can have those beliefs, you can that because that's who you are, that's where you're at right now, but also unloading and showing everything is a whole 'nother a whole
Yeah.
'nother thing.
Well, I learned over time to realize, everybody is who they are,
Yeah.
and if I choose to be spiritual, great. If
Mhm.
they choose to be spiritual in their way, great. I don't care what they are, as long as they accepted me for who I was and I accepted them for who they are. And I think that's a inside problem we have. We want people to be like we are.
Yeah.
And it's learning to negotiate through relationships so that you can accept each other and that you can make it, how to make it work with someone who's amazing, who may just do some things different than you do, but we're not imposing it on the other. Oh God,
Right.
did I get too deep on our first date, Stephanie?
Yes. No, because this is exactly it. This is where that good stuff is because as women in general, or like for that, there's those expectations, and you'll start finding yourself, and even this could be again unconsciously having those expectations of the other person being everything that you want them to be. And that's like where you're having like this disillusion that may come into play, that they have to be everything for you, and it's just unrealistic when it really comes down to it. That's kind of where, when you're in that relationship, that's where that compromise, that's where that work comes in. So I that
Yeah.
definitely hits the nail on the head for everything that you had mentioned, along with all those examples. So I love it. This isn't too deep.
And one of the important things this goes back to is values. So, um, I didn't understand all this then. This, like I said, was before I was a dating coach. And it's not that it's not that the value is somebody has to be spiritual, like in the same
Mhm.
way as I am. The value is really, can we each accept each other for
Yeah.
who we are without changing each other? And, that most of us don't, because we fall in love with men's potential.
Yeah.
Men actually
Yeah.
fall in love with the real us,
Yeah.
but women, we fall in love with men's potential. So we are out there trying to change them. Yeah, we really are.
Yes, I was guilty of that. I was guilty of that. So yes, that resonates.
Yeah, it happens, but so this is why I got into all this, because I was so clueless. So it
Yeah.
goes back to your first question. I was clueless and I was miserable because I'm looking for my ex without realizing it. I'm looking for someone who's exactly like me without realizing I need someone who could compliment me, not be me. How boring that is if you have
Yeah.
someone that's just like you. And so it's not that you're boring, it's that, you want the compliment
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
the love and the acceptance. That's why chemistry is not part of that equation. Chemistry doesn't fit into making a
Yeah.
relationship work. It's not sustainable, yet it's what most people use to find someone. So you do wanna get to know someone. Don't knock them out, because they have a goofy tooth or an ugly shirt, you know? Really find out who they are. A tooth can be straightened.
It's fine. It's fine.
A shirt, all right, that you can change. You can't change personalities, but you can change a shirt and those values, because that is the core of it. Do they live life like you live your life from similar
Right.
values?
Oh, I love that. And Lisa, we had covered quite a bit in such a very small time. And I still wish that we could go over all these other different areas. It's been fun. It's been fun. I love it. But I understand too that you have a free goodie to share with those that are tuning in. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. I have a little ebook. It's short and sweet, called The Five Little Known Secrets for Finding a Quality Man. It's just going to give you a quick overview of like the dating blueprint I talked about. There's inside of it is, a strategy for how to write a profile, some great questions to ask men, where to meet men. There are all kinds of things in there that are just going to help you get your mind thinking about the possibilities of going out there and how to find who it is you want that shares those values.
Thank you for explaining that. And for those that are tuning in, go ahead and click that link down below and kind of grab that like ebook to kind of start initially going through these steps. That sounds amazing. And Lisa, I always like to leave with asking, and since this is an interview series on practical and actionable advice, is there any last piece of advice or actionable step that you want the listeners to leave with today?
Yeah, I guess it is really open to possibilities. Open
Mhm.
to possibilities of who could be a great partner for you, open to possibilities for how to find them, and open to your own possibilities of how amazing you are.
Yeah.
And, it's all about possibilities. And the other part of that is stay away from people talking negative about dating because they will take your energy down and they'll scare you and your dream will be snuffed out. Be in places where people are positive about dating because that it's a journey and it is a journey. It takes time and you have to learn from it. Or you don't have to. You can just repeat. But it's a journey where it can be a great learning journey about yourself and self-love as well as creating love with another person.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that and also sharing your valuable insights and wisdom with us today. It was fun and great having you, Lisa. And
Thank
for
you.
those that are listening, make sure you grab that free goodie and click the link down below. And also be sure to tune back in for the rest of Dating After Divorce for Women interview series. Thank you for joining us today.